For anyone here who doesn't know me, I'm Daniel, and I want to thank you all for coming to this memorial for Jonesy, my cat of 19 years. She would have loved being the center of attention for all of you today. As you all know, Jonesy was getting up there in years and wasn't able to get around like she used to. And when her health and her quality of life began to drastically deteriorate after her cancer diagnosis, I made the difficult decision to say goodbye so that she wouldn't suffer any more than she had to. You know, it's hard to know when to say goodbye to someone, even if it's just a pet. But I think in some ways our pets are sometimes more fortunate than people in the sense that when their suffering becomes too great, we have the ability to take it away from them entirely. I try to tell myself that this is a mercy that our pets are lucky to have, something that we can only do for them. As anybody who knew her was well aware of, Jonesy was quite a special animal. She was a long-haired tabby and an especially adorable cat. And I'm certain she was well aware of that fact and how much everyone swooned over her. And she made full use of it by demanding the undivided attention of anybody that she was around. But as prissy and demanding as she could be, she was a very sweet cat, and she had a tremendous capacity to sense your emotions and do her best to comfort you with her presence. And I know I was far from the only one who would be graced by her presence. She was a very social animal and loved being around people. Some of you here today are my neighbors and may have even known Jonesy better than you know me. Before she got too old to get around very well, I would let her roam around the apartment complex while I was home, and as long as she didn't harass the local wildlife. And whenever she had the opportunity, she would always make her rounds and visit with her human friends in the neighborhood. You know, I can't tell you how many times I would go looking for her and find her sitting comfortably in the lap of some neighbor, being spoiled with cat treats and doted upon. I can remember one time I let her out to make her rounds and she disappeared for an entire day. And the next day, after I'd been out in the neighborhood calling her name for a while, I hear a door open and then close around the corner of a building that I had just passed, and lo and behold, here comes Jonesy sauntering up to me like nothing had even happened. And I can only imagine that this neighbor that I never actually met knew Jonesy and just figured she was an exceptionally beautiful stray whenever Jonesy most likely invited herself into their home and probably demanded a meal. And I imagine this neighbor only figured out her ruse the next day when I came calling, and Jonesy was suddenly ready to leave her overnight accommodations. You know, I'm really gonna miss my Jonesy, but I know I'm far from the only one who will miss her and mourn her absence. It's comforting to know how many others she left an impression on, and despite how much we all miss her, I think we were all lucky to have known such a special animal. Once again, I want to thank you for coming today.